What's up, everybody? I'm Jeff Shelley, and this is Bits and Bytes Weekly. For those not in the know, Bits and Bytes is a video game and entertainment website and reviews and news. You can check us out at bytsnbitesweekly.com or visit our YouTube page for videos or news that you may have missed through the week. Speaking of news, here are the top stories for this week. March's free PS Plus games for PS4, PS3, and PS Vita have been announced. They are as follows. For PS4, you will be getting Bloodborne, Ratchet & Clank, Mighty No. 9, Claire Extended Cut, and Bombing Busters. For PS3, you get Mighty No. 9 and Legend of Kai. For PS Vita, you get Claire Extended Cut and Bombing Busters. On the heels of this announcement, Sony has announced that it will be no longer offering PS3 and PS Vita titles as part of the PS Plus lineup, starting on March 8th, 2019. So, in a little bit over a year, but not by much, we will no longer be able to get PS3 and PS Vita titles as part of PS Plus. Warner Bros. Interactive has announced that they will be releasing a Legendary Edition of their popular fighting game, Injustice 2. The Legendary Edition will feature all of the core roster, plus the DLC heroes, along with premiere skins. The game will also add new features like an expanded tutorial called Learning Hub, as well as raising the level cap to 30, and adding new gear and an augment slot for when you reach level 30. Injustice 2 Legendary Edition releases March 27th and will be available for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. This March 5th, which would be tomorrow, will see Twitch institute their new community guidelines. The guidelines were originally supposed to take effect on February 19th, but were delayed so that Twitch could retool them a little bit to make them more transparent and easier to understand. Here are some of the new rules that will be taking effect come tomorrow. We have the anti-harassment and hateful conduct policies. First conduct we deem to be hateful will result in an immediate indefinite suspension. Hate simply has no place in the Twitch community. Additionally, we will now consider verifiable hateful or harassing conduct that takes place off Twitch when making moderation decisions for actions that occur on Twitch. If you use other services to direct hate or harassment towards someone on Twitch, we would consider it a violation of Twitch's policies. So those there are the anti-harassment and hateful conduct policies. Twitch also has revealed some policies regarding sexual content. Twitch is an open global community with users of many ages and cultures. Excuse me. Because of this, it's important that your content is not sexual in nature. Attire and gaming streams, most at-home streams, and all profile channel imagery should be appropriate for a public street, mall, or restaurant. As a reminder, we will not tolerate using this policy as a basis to harass streamers on or off Twitch, regardless of whether you think they're breaking this rule. So those new rules will be going into effect tomorrow. So, look to see if you see anything that appears differently. That would be why, because of these new conduct rules that will be coming out. So just bear that in mind when you go to check that out. After months of it appears that the ESRB is stepping in to take a stance on the lootbox controversy. We take a closer look to see what this all means and if it's actually going to accomplish anything. Loot boxes. Love them or hate them, but they are almost in just about every game on the market nowadays. When loot boxes originally began, they were strictly used in free-to-play games, mainly mobile, as a way for developers to make money off their products. However, it wasn't too long before this mobile practice made its way over into the AAA space. It seems like the one lesson learned from the mobile market was how to better monetize your game, and the changing of a simple game that you would pick up and play to completion into more of a platform that will have you spending years of your time and hard-earned money inside it. Loot boxes have replaced what used to be considered a microtransaction. The art of simply spending $1 or $2 to play with a specific skin or get a certain armor set has been replaced into a game of chance onto itself. With loot boxes, there are no guarantees to what you are getting, there's just a chance. To many, this sounds less like a video game and more like gambling.
This game is a Star Wars themed online casino designed to lure kids into spending money. It's a trap.
The idea of loot boxes being a form of gambling is nothing new. Enter most recently Senator Maggie Hassan, a New Hampshire Democrat, who just recently wrote a letter to ESRB President Patricia Vance, asking the ESRB, who represents the gaming industry, to list the presence of loot boxes as a warning on the game's box and to study the wider use of the practice. Along with this letter to the ESRB, Senator Hassan also pressed 4 nominees to the Federal Trade Commission during a hearing the same week.
This is a question for the panel, and again, we have limited time, so I'll start with Mr. Simons and work down. But in the past, the FTC has looked at video games, issuing a report on the marketing of violent video games to children in 2009 and in 2013. It also studied the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB, finding it one of the most effective voluntary enforcement boards. That's why I'm confident that the ESRB will take this issue seriously. So today I am sending a letter to the ESRB outlining my concerns with microtransactions, which may take the form of loot boxes, that's what they're called, and allow in-game purchases for surprise winnings. And in many cases, these are being marketed to and used by children who are obviously particularly susceptible to being addicted to them.
The ESRB answered back, saying earlier this week that they will now include a label on physical games stating that the games feature in-game purchases. Here is the official statement from ESRB President Patricia Vance. The video game industry is evolving and innovating continually, as is the ESRB rating system. ESRB's goal is to ensure that parents have the most up-to-date and comprehensive tools at their disposal to help them decide which games are appropriate for their children. With the new in-game purchases interactive element coming to physical games, parents will know when a game contains offers for players to purchase additional content. Moreover, we will be expanding our efforts to educate parents about the controls currently at their disposal to manage in-game spending before their kids press start. While it's nice to see the ESRB have some response to the issue of loot boxes, overall this does nothing to quell any real concerns about loot boxes and the predatory practices. As a matter of fact, the label in-game purchases casts a rather wide net that includes more than just loot boxes. According to this label, any game that features DLC or any sort of add-on content would be included in this, and the label does little to address or single out loot boxes at all. So where does this leave us when it comes to loot boxes? The ESRB seems only too content to do nothing. This new label is literally the least they could do, and in doing so, they still are refusing to call out loot boxes at all. Part of this could be that the ESRB represents the software manufacturers. These manufacturers have made it all too clear in the past that they want to keep loot boxes in their games as a way of earning more money from them. This action by the ESRB does not mark the end of the loot box controversy, but instead is just the beginning in a battle that will be sure to heat up as more games adopt this model. Speaking of a game with loot boxes, Overwatch this past Wednesday debuted its 27th hero. The new hero is Brigitte.
In stories, the heroes get the honor and glory.
Who is the youngest daughter of Overwatch hero Torbjorn Lindholm. Guess that's how you pronounce that. Not 100% sure. Brigitte's primary weapon is a heavy-hitting rocket flail, which she swings in a wide arc in front of her. Brigitte also has a whip shot ability to strike foes from a distance, as well as a passive ability called Inspire that heals nearby teammates over time as she lands blows. Brigitte also has a shield ability as well as a shield bash where she lunges forward and stuns the first enemy in her path. Brigitte's ultimate, called Rally, generates armor for her allies along with improving her movement speed. For right now, Brigitte is only available on the PTR server on PC. Hot on the heels of a round table on how to prevent more mass shootings like the one that recently hit Parkland, President Trump has announced that he will be meeting next week with representatives of the video game industry to discuss some other ideas on how to stop acts of mass violence. I'll have more next week as the story develops. But for now, you can visit our YouTube page and watch our package from last week, A History of Politicians versus Video Games, for our thoughts on these developments. Sony Interactive Entertainment has announced this week that it will be restructuring to focus on PS4 exclusives. New organizational structure will go into effect on April 1st of this year. Some of the exclusives Sony has on its plate this year are God of War 4, which releases in April, Detroit Become Human, which will launch on May 25th, and the Spider-Man game for PS4, which is set to release sometime this year. So there's also some other ones that I think they might have coming out soon too this year. So we will see. I think it's going to be a very busy year for if you're a PlayStation fan. So from Sony focusing on exclusives to the new releases you could be playing this week, here's a look at what's coming out this week in our new releases. On March 6th, Frantics hits PS4. Also on March 6th, Bravo Team, a PSVR title, hits PS4. March 6th sees Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition come out on PS4 and Xbox One. March 6th also sees AC Origins Curse of the Pharaohs. That's DLC for Assassin's Creed Origins. That'll be available on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And also on March 6th, we get Scribblenauts Showdown, which will be available on Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. And so, our pick of the week is going to be... Boom! It's going to be Scribblenauts Showdown. Use your imagination and go head-to-head in the ultimate multiplayer showdown. Enjoy a party-style Scribblenauts experience, conjuring from over 35,000 objects from the vast Scribblenauts dictionary to outsmart your opponent in over 25 mini-games. Play solo or with up to 4 of your friends in showdown mode and imagine your way to victory through card-based strategy and creative skills. You can also play in the CPU and versus mode. You can go nuts in a sandbox, create anything in 8 different sandbox levels, and watch what happens solo or with a friend. Create your own Scribblenaut, which is pretty cool, by unlocking hundreds of wacky costume pieces and vehicles. So that will be very, very cool. And I threw away my script right now. Excuse me. So that's it for Bits and Bytes Weekly. That's been our second episode of Bits and Bytes Weekly. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're just tuning in, you can check out our YouTube channel for last week's episode. You can also check out podcast services such as like Stitcher or iTunes. Because we're available on that. If you want to see what else we've been up to, you can go to bytsnbites.com. That's where we post the majority of our stuff through the week. That's got video game reviews, movie reviews, some opinion pieces on video games and movies as well. So just check that out. I hope you guys have a great week. This has been a lot of fun. The second one's under our belt, and hopefully we can keep on moving here. Haven't had too much time to game because this has been taking a majority of my time just setting this up and working on graphics and packages and all that stuff. But hopefully now I'm starting to get more stuff settled in, and I think we're doing really good. But anyway, so hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you soon. So for now, just keep on playing.